Hi, I'm Bob McCoskrie. Welcome to Straight Talk. This is episode number 42. Where have they all gone? Tonight we talk about, what are we talking about? We've got a spot quiz. We've got the speedy spot quiz. Funny thing is I forgot to write this list down, so I'm just going to have to guess this. We're going to talk about the budget. We're going to talk about a new website called Woke Up. Police want stricter regulations on alcohol, and Ātepati Māori in trouble. So all those things, a lot to talk about tonight. In fact, I think we may have scared off one of our panellists because we were supposed to have Peter, but let's have a look at the panellists. And one thing you'll notice is that there are no adult human females. We have banned them from the program, as far as I can tell, unless one of these guys is identifying as one. To my left is Simon O'Connor. How are you, Simon?
Doing very, very well, Bob. Great to join you all again.
And Rodney Hyde has just come in from, I was going to say he's coming from doing the carpeting. You've stayed in from doing the carpeting, haven't you? You got lush, soft feeling on your feet.
I have. We've got carpet in one room, so that was great getting that down. Lovely to be here, Bob. Lovely to be with all your viewers. And thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you for filling in at the last moment because, as we said, the adult human females are all missing. Either because in Ala's case, little Samuel is sick, or in Ate's case, she's travelling, or in Christine's case, she was unavailable, or Sue's case, she was overseas. And I don't know if I tried Mel, but anyway, it's just the lads. And to be honest, Peter Williams was supposed to, here he goes, he's coming in. So Peter Williams will be with us in any minute. I bet he was never late for the 6 o'clock news, but anyway, we will soon find out. Bruce, good evening to you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Bob. And you?
Very good, thank you. Have we got? We'll get Peter when he comes in. Now, don't forget, if you do want to comment to us or you want to ask any questions, you need to go to the Family First Facebook page. That's the way you can put your comment in, or on our YouTube channel, and then we'll see your questions come through the computer. And Rosie already says, I missed this last Monday. We missed you as well, Rosie. We all had a week off. But I don't think it'll make us any better. Anyway, let's just have a look at, firstly, I've got the image of the week, and this is the Canadian Cancer Society, and they have apologised for referring to the cervix by its technical name, i.e. cervix, rather than a euphemism such as front hole. I apologise for saying that, but apparently the Canadian Cancer Society says that using inappropriate words like cervix is not on. The agency also conceded that men can have these body parts too. So that is the brave new world of Stupidsville. You wouldn't want to have cancer in Canada because they're really not that smart. Peter is there, but the lights haven't been turned on. Is there a power cut out your way, Rodney, or something? Because maybe Peter hasn't turned on. See, it's all black. Can we just see that black shot? Peter's supposed to be there, but he, see, there it is. There's no power in Wanaka, or just out of Wanaka. The video of the week is, when One News, it's a pity Peter's not here because I really wanted to ask him about this. One News do their budget coverage. Now, I want to show you, Peter, how are you? Nice to have you.
I'm very good, Bob. I'm sorry about that. Different time zone down here. I got confused.
Rodney said it was pitch black at 5 o'clock.
Pretty close to it, yeah. But it doesn't get light till about 8:15 in the morning. So my chickens have a very big sleep in every day these days.
Well, I just wanted to explain about what happens when One News covers the budget. And we're going to show you what happens when Labor gives some money away, and then what happens when National gives some money away. Have a watch of this.
He's getting help.
I'm over the moon. It's I didn't think $20 would happen. You know,
Labor.
so like $20 is amazing. You know, that's like some better vegetables. Do something with my son on the weekend. You know, like get a bus somewhere and do something.
For the Haida whānau of Hastings, their excitement.
Oh, stick. It's only $80 a fortnight.
Quickly dissipated.
So $40 a week. Yeah. We might be able to get a extra pack of toilet rolls and maybe a couple of loaves of bread.
Wayne Reid from Tauranga says it feels like his numbers have come up.
For a man that's on a benefit, $55, that's lotto. You know, wow, thank you.
Win-win.
No.
Yes.
No. This pensioner's tax cut even less.
An extra 2 cups of coffee down at the local cafe. Basically, you know, that's how insignificant it really is.
Please, sir, I want some more.
This Northland mum of 5 has plans for her power bill.
I'm always on time with it, but just to be in credit with things would just be good.
For this working solo mum and her 2-year-old son, it's an extra $90 a fortnight.
$90, I feel like it's really good. It helps a lot, or help me.
But again, more support would be welcome.
I've got to get my son's clothes every month because he's just growing like crazy, which I don't mind to do, but $90 is not a lot.
Yeah, okay, so you probably noticed there that whenever it was Labor giving the money away, it was fantastic and really added to it. But when it was National giving it away, it was only going to pay for a couple of rolls of toilet paper and maybe some bread, even though it was more money. So, yeah, interesting times. Now, as you can see, we're having a few technical difficulties, but is it just Peter we've lost now? Everyone else seems to be there. Team, I did want to have give you a bit of a rack up because 2 weeks ago, see, I brush my teeth before I come on the show. Do you guys brush your teeth? You do? It looks like you do, Simon. Bruce, do you brush your teeth before you come on Straight Talk?
Even after.
Even before and after. Well, I brushed my teeth last week, and you guys didn't tell me that I had this massive stain on my shirt. So could you guys just give us a bit of hand to make me at least look acceptable? Anyway, we were too distracted
by the quinoa that was stuck in your teeth.
Okay.
Your teeth were so bright, I was dazzled.
Peter, we got you back. That's good. Okay, we're going to get straight into it with our spot quiz. So ready to go. First question, Royalist or Republican? Peter?
Very much a Royalist.
Rodney?
Royalist.
Bruce?
A Royalist still.
Still good. And Simon?
God save the King.
Oh, there we go. 5-0. So next question is, do you like the King's honours that they hand out at King's birthday? Sounds weird. Queen's honours, I'm always used to saying, that they hand out at New Year and Queen's birthday. Do you like those, Peter? Do you like those honours?
I just wish they would be given to people who really deserve them and not given to people who get an honour for essentially doing their job. There must be more to the world to deserve an honour than just being a professor or being a judge or that sort of thing,
doing a paid job,
or being in business. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have that opportunity to think about that in a sec. Rodney, do you like the King's honours that they hand out each time?
Yes, but I think we need to make it a more serious commitment and actually seek people out rather than have it as a little political club that MPs get their mates and parties get their mates and, you know, he's a good old boy, it's time he got a gong. I despise that. I think it should be a very significant thing. I support it. But it should be significant, it should be meaningful, it should be hard won. And when people get an honour, everyone should be able to say, yes, well deserved.
Okay, now that answer was way too long and you're fined $20 as a result. Bruce?
It was worth it.
It was worth every word. Bruce?
There are too many and too frivolous pieces of where people get rewards. There was one called, well, there are lots of ones. Unfortunately, I can't remember. I wrote them down and I've thrown the piece of paper away. But there were several that I thought were rather silly and quite unnecessary. A mixture of one was steam and women or something. Very odd.
Oh, okay.
We have far too many.
For the reason for it. Okay. Well, make sure when you get an award that you don't accidentally throw it in the bin, eh? Simon, are you a fan of them?
In concept, yeah, I think they're great. They can be very well deserved, but unfortunately, a little bit like others have mentioned, they're becoming quite political. It's sort of predictable who the left will go to and to the right. So my encouragement is to New Zealanders, you've got to submit the names and do the application. So part of this behoves us to react, to put good people forward.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a fan of them, but if they go to people really deserving who have sacrificed and not just in a typical job. Who do you think should have received a King's Honour last weekend, Peter? Who would have been on your list?
I have nobody off the top of my head who stands out. Maybe, frankly, Ian Foster should have been someone recognised, because after all, against the odds, he got them to within 1 point of what would have been an extraordinary rugby achievement last year. So I don't know whether or not he's been honoured in the past, but he was. He is one name that stands out who should have been honoured, I believe.
Yeah, good point, Rodney.
Linda Walton from the Health Forum, who's looked after 50,000 vaccine-injured New Zealanders, been vilified for doing so and attacked. That's a true hero.
Bruce?
Did I get my $10 back?
I racked my brains but couldn't think of anyone, Bob.
Couldn't you? Okay. Not even your wife?
No.
She's been long suffering and hasn't been paid for it.
Well, that's true. That's all true.
Simon?
Are you just fishing for one of us to say Sir Bob McCoskrie? Is that what you've been after?
That is the last thing that'll ever happen, I can tell you.
Oh, well, I better leave it there then.
Okay. Now, Peter, I think I know what your answer is. Are you looking forward to the Olympics next month, Peter?
I am, although the problem with these Olympics is that they're going to happen in the middle of the night, mostly, and first thing in the morning, which is not a particularly convenient time for me watching television. So I think I'll probably watch less of these Olympics than any for the last 40 years.
And just to remind everybody, how many Olympics have you worked at?
Oh, I don't know. Half a dozen? 7? I can't remember. It's one or the other.
Okay. Rodney, you looking forward to the Olympics?
Not at all, sadly.
Not at all. Okay. Humbug. Bruce?
Yeah, I am. I am looking forward to them. I think I enjoy the Olympics, and I think this year it might even be better because the New Zealand contingent looks stronger than usual.
Okay. Simon?
I have to admit, I didn't even realise they were on until you messaged this question through. So so I'm sorry to Peter in particular. I'll probably engage once they're on. I will follow them a little bit, but quite genuinely, until you asked the question, Bob, I didn't even realise.
No. Okay. I'll go in opposite direction now. This is going to be interesting with Simon. Simon, are you looking forward to the Euro 2024?
When and what is the Euro 2024?
Bruce, are you looking forward to Euro 2024?
Well, yes, but not as much as I am to the Olympics.
Okay, good answer.
I'll enjoy it. I'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Could you tell the guy to your right what sport it is?
I think it's baseball, isn't it?
Yeah, close.
No, it's football. Football.
Yeah, football. Well done. Rodney, are you interested in Euro 2024?
I haven't watched it since ABBA won.
Wrong competition. Peter?
They got knighthoods for that too, I see the other day. Rodney? Yes, yeah. I am looking forward to it. Even better is that I'm going to be in the UK for the first, 3 weeks of July. So I'm going to be there while the election's on, and I'm going to be there while the Euros are on. But after
you'll be there. Yeah, you'll be there when the French election's on as well now, won't you?
Probably. I'm not going to France though.
Okay.
I'm not too confident about England though after Iceland the other day.
No, exactly. Well, I can't wait for it. It's going to be very exciting. Simon, have you ever been to Niue? The Prime Minister went last week.
Sadly, no, but I had a wonderful staff member, Stalote, who was from Niue and has told me when I go, I've got to go to Matapa. It's a beautiful bay, I'm told. So not yet, but it's on the list.
Bruce, you been to Niue?
No, I haven't. No.
Rodney?
Nope.
Peter?
No, I haven't, but I know Mark Blumsky, who played bowls for
Yeah.
Niue after being the Mayor of Wellington and an MP.
That's right. Okay, well, I have been. Went 5 years ago because my wife is half Niuean. Her mother is full Niuean. So, and I know the bay you're talking about, and it's lovely, lovely place. The Wi-Fi sucks, but apart from that, Niue is a great place if you want to get away from the internet. Potholes are being fixed around the country. Have you ever suffered damage to your car or been in an accident because of potholes in the road, Simon?
No, but it was only last year, I think it was, heading out the Kaimai Ranges, where like 6 or 7 vehicles all on the side of the road because of a massive pothole. But no, I've managed to avoid them.
That's right. And actually, Gordon, our technical producer here, he was driving home from StraightTalk one night. The motorway was closed, so they sent them round some rural area of Auckland, and he hit some potholes, and his tyre cost him $800 to fix his tyre. So I might send that to Simeon Brown, the bill. Bruce, you avoid all the potholes, don't you?
Yes, I do, assiduously.
Yep. Okay. Rodney, down in the South Island, you must be hitting them all the time. They're all on your driveway, aren't they?
No, we drive sensibly, though, because we drive to the conditions. We don't just sail along a road down here expecting it to be clear.
You sound like an ACC ad, drive to the conditions. Peter, have you ever wrecked your car in the potholes?
No, we don't have potholes on our sealed roads down here. Unfortunately, I live down a dirt road, which gets graded by the Central Otago Council, who are putting my rates up by 19% this year. They grade my dirt road about 3 times a year. I think for an 18% rate rise, at least they should grade it 4 times a year.
Okay. Okay, and no, I haven't, but my wife's come home with the car damage. She blamed the potholes, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Are you coming to the forum on the family, Simon?
Oh, absolutely. My boss would shoot me if I didn't.
Exactly. I think you're hosting the Q&A, aren't you? Bruce, you're coming, aren't you?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, well done. Rodney, are you coming to the forum on the family?
Sadly not. Family duties.
Yes, that's right. And Peter, you probably have the best excuse because you will be will you be at Wimbledon then?
On Friday the 6th of July or Friday the 5th of July, yes, I'm going to Wimbledon. So, and then the following morning in the UK, I'm watching the All Blacks play England from Forsyth Bar Stadium, and then going to the Lion King that afternoon with my grandson. So, yeah, I'm a bit busy that weekend. I'm sorry, Bob.
Yeah. Okay, no, tough for some. Delwyn says, I stopped watching any Olympics when Lauren Hubbard was in the weightlifting. Rex says, Peter, what have you got against professors? What did you say about professors, Peter? I don't remember that.
About them getting New Year's and King's birthday honours. Yeah, but I
so
think Rex actually deserves one. I don't have a problem if we get Sir Rex. Great idea.
Oh, sounds lovely. That was all. Yeah, no, those were the comments. There was just one other thing before we get into our first comment. Oh, can anybody define this word? Allocache, I think is how you say it. I bet Bruce can. Bruce, can you define what is allocache? Any of you guys know? Allocache. Allocache, apparently Scholastic, which is the book company in the US, they've got a glossary in their guide with all the latest books and words. And allocache, this word, is a term for people whose gender and sexuality are privileged by society. Isn't that impressive?
I'm not sure what it means.
Sexuality and gender is privileged by society.
I still don't know what it means.
Well, that is your word for today, allocache. Privileged, your gender and sexuality is privileged by society. Anyway, let's get into the serious stuff. Okay, the budget team. Just a quick budget for dummies. This is where all the money comes from, mainly income tax and quite a bit from GST. So that's why it tends to impact people who shop a lot. Here's what the money goes on. Big areas are education, health, welfare, social support, and Bruce and Peter's pay. And no, not Simon. And this is the amount of spending. Now, interestingly, Grant Robertson actually spent less money than the national government is going to spend over the next couple of years, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Rodney, as a low spending ACT Party candidate previously, I'm interested to hear your views on that. And just before we get the views of the panellists, they did a poll straight after the budget, and believe it or not, national supporters, obviously they thought it was very good, good or okay. But go along to the third column and you'll see there that Te Pāti Māori voters actually liked the budget. Only 28 plus 5, 33%. Only a third of Te Pāti Māori voters thought it was bad or very bad. And then they asked about the tax cuts. And so you'll see there too much tax cuts, about right, and not enough. Go along the lower line, and under Labor, you'll see half of Labor voters thought there weren't enough tax cuts, which I find quite ironic. So anyway, Rodney, do you want to give us a mark out of 10 for the budget? What did you like? What didn't you like?
Look, people will slowly come around to my point of view. I give this government 0 out of 10. And I think I'm going to be on the right side of history on this. I give this budget 0 out of 10. It totally lacks any vision. It lacks any direction. It lacks any stated purpose or principle. It is absolutely just tinkering or fiddling, and fiddling while Rome burns. It is a shocking budget. This would be a sort of budget that, look, I'd prefer a Michael Cullen budget. He would be more prudent than this.
Okay. And was there anything, what specifically? Was it the level of spending, or was there something in particular that was in or
It's a lack of
left
any.
out?
It's a lack of any principle. It's a lack of any statement of values. It's a lack of any statement about what this government is here for. I would have thought, after our most radical left-wing government in our lifetime, a new Conservative government would chart a new course. Now, to chart a new course, you've actually got to make a statement. Now, the opportunity to make a statement, one of them is in the budget. Here is where we're heading. This is what we're trying to achieve. This is what we stand for. None of it. Tinker, 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 spending going up. And so, again, 0 out of 10, there's nothing I liked about it. Because government is crushing the lifeblood out of every part of us. Our private sector is so regulated that it goes along with whatever government says. It's a corporatist sort of structure that we have now. And that is set to continue. Why? Because it suits the politicians. And I'm afraid to say that Mr. Luxon is just happy to be the happy little manager, and the little tax cuts and the little bits that bibs and bobs that they do is almost laughing at us who are conservative, who believe in market solutions, and who believe in limited government. What does this government think that government should not be doing?
Okay. That was a harsh judge. Bruce, you'll be a lot softer. What did you give them out of 10?
Well, a bit. I gave it 5 out of 10 in my little calculation. And I tend to agree a lot with Rodney. It does lack principle. And you would think that this particular time, there's the opportunity for it to do that. But I did like the tax cuts. It doesn't matter what a tax cut is. I like a tax cut. It's always a good thing. And the charter schools, I thought, did suggest some kind of principle, one hoped, but nevertheless, I liked it. I would have liked to have seen it got round to stating what really is the role of the state. On the defence obfuscation, when Judith Collins told us they're giving us $521 million more dollars, it wasn't more dollars, it was just $521 for another thing. And so we're actually this government has actually reduced the amount of money going to defence. And defence is one of the primary roles of the state, for goodness sake. If it doesn't do defence, it doesn't do very much. And I think we should be spending at least 2 or 3% of our budget on law and defence. And the other obvious one is law and order. And that is difficult now because of the loss of principle. So Rodney's saying a lot of things that I think are worthwhile and right. So while I'm probably a bit softer than he is, nevertheless, I mean, I'm on his side here.
Okay, I'm just noting down the date and time that Bruce Logan said that Rodney was on the mark. So that's quite special, isn't it, Rodney? Simon, national budget you must have thought it was 11 out of 10?
Well, arguably the way the budget dollars have come out, 11 does look like a 10. No, I give it a 5 out of 10. I find it an indifferent budget. There's a big gap between what's been said versus what's actually done. So, fundamentally, this is not a conservative government, and that manifests in the financial space as much as anywhere else. But a government that's talked about lower spending more. A government that's talked about reducing debt is increasing the debt. And then, Bruce touched on the defence question. It's now under 1%. It's a cut. But you've got all the usual political tricks in play. I mean, on the positive side, some of the trajectories are positive if they do hold firm to actually reducing costs, but bad start to say you're going to reduce while increasing. Moving the tertiary fees from the first year to the last year. But you can argue a lot of that stuff's tinkering, if I had to be a bit judgmental on that. But the big fail politically, in my opinion, was the non-funding of the cancer drugs. That doesn't make sense from a particularly from a political point of view. When they put so many billions more into health, it wouldn't have taken much at all to have ring-fenced the cancer drugs.
I know, it was almost as like a label was missing, even though the funding was theoretically there.
Yeah, personally, you don't have to commit to the 13 drugs that they had named. They're out of date now anyway. You don't want to give the upper hand to the pharmaceutical companies. But to have ring-fenced X millions of dollars to say, look, this will fund the new cancer drugs, would have been fine, but a misstep, and one they'll pay for. Well, actually, to be fair, Bob and everyone, we'll end up paying for it because, mark my words, they will be scrambling at the moment to find money somewhere to make an announcement to try to cauterise this wound.
Yeah, I think we'll see that before the end of the year. Peter, what did you give it out of 10?
Oh, only a 3.5 to a 4. Bob, I'm old enough to remember what happened in this country in 1984. We had a snap election called. It happened on, I think, the 14th of July, 1984, when the David Lange government came to power. Roger Douglas presented his budget to the people of New Zealand. Well, I remember listening to it on the radio. It was an evening presentation. I was out in the Upper Hutt evening, so it must have been sometime in the spring. So let's say it was in September or October. I remember listening to his speech on the radio thinking, wow, this is a guy who's only been in government for 3 months, 4 months, but he is steering this country in a completely different economic direction. And he needed to. They needed to back in those days because Muldoon had, in the immortal words of David Lange, turned us into a Polish shipyard. The 6 years of the Labour-led government have made this country very, very susceptible and very, very fragile from an economic perspective. So therefore, I wanted a government to set a direction, to tell us how they were going to improve the economic direction of this country. Instead, we find that there is still $40 million set aside for subsidising the film industry. We see that there is still millions of dollars set aside for kapahaka concerts. We see that there is still millions of dollars set aside for the gaming industry. We've still got the Ministry for Women. We've still got the Ministry for Pacific Peoples. We've still got Te Puni Kokiri. Government departments. We've still got the Human Rights Commission. Departments which do very, very little for the good of this country and are certainly not a good return on investment as far as the taxpayer dollar is concerned. So I wanted to see a government be strong to push the boat out and have some political courage in their first budget, because frankly, they're going to have more political capital in their first year in office than they are in their third when they're going to be fighting for re-election. So they should have been more courageous. But frankly, with that man as the Prime Minister, he just doesn't know how to spell the word courage. And that's why I'm pessimistic about the future while these guys lead the coalition.
Okay, well, I'm surprised you gave it 3.5 when Rodney gave it 0, and you seem to be,
I'm a more generous man than Rodney.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, unfortunately, our comments coming through, we've got technical issues just on the comments. So if you are venting your spleen on the comments, unfortunately, we can't fully see them or show them, but that's okay. You can argue amongst yourself in the comments section. All right, team, let's move on to the next one, and that is there's a new website out by a radical group. The website is wokeup.nz. Why give money to companies that oppose your values? And on it shows you how woke a Kiwi business is. It's broken up into a number of areas: airlines, banks and finance, energy, food and drink, petrol. And if you go into one, for example, banks, you'll find all the banks there, well, most of them. We're still sort of developing the site, but you'll see there it gives a label as to how woke they are. Interestingly, basically every bank is woke except for the SBS Bank, and I think we're going to review TBS because our understanding is they may be as well. And then there's the latest news. Oh, there we are. There's our woke rating. And so it's kind of a traffic light. And for those who didn't know, there's actually 2 colours of the middle one on a traffic light. And those are all the basically grading of whether they're woke or not. So I'm interested to, what was this one? Oh, the latest news. So those are some of kind of the individual companies, Ballantines, not Ballantines, Ballantines down in Christchurch, holding a beauty event with drag queens. There's also Coca-Cola there sponsoring a drag queen carrying the Olympic torch, North Face, and yeah, there's a few other bonds included. So I was just interested to get a review from the panel. Ala Pomalele was supposed to be on tonight, but little Bubs is sick, and she actually researched and helped create the site. So I said to all of you, be nice. You don't have to be nice now because she's not here, so she won't give you the glare. So so we'll go in the order. I'll go in the same order, starting Rodney. What was your thoughts?
I loved it. And it's truly shocking because, I just clicked on half a dozen companies, BNZ, McDonald's, Countdown, and their policies read that like they were the political studies department of one of New Zealand's third-rate universities. And these are our corporates. They should be in the business of providing for their customers and delivering for their shareholders. That should be their job. That should be their tough job. When they're prancing around with their rainbow flags and mouthing incantations to pagan gods, you seriously have to question whether they're capable of running a business in tough economic times. It shocks me, Bob. It truly shocks me. It's like you can't imagine that sane people sit around and write this hogwash, agree to it, and put it on their webpage. It's like I wouldn't expect that from someone sitting in the fourth form, because it's incoherent mumbo jumbo, and they blather it and they blather it, and of course, it's all the same. You can jump from corporate to the university, to the government, to the Reserve Bank, across to a clothing company, and they're all just mouthing the stuff. They've lost their minds.
Okay, right. Bruce, did you feel the same?
Yes, I did. Although when I looked at the website, I said, wow, this is going to get up some people's noses. But then there are some big noses around. So, and commercial activism certainly gets up my nose, because it gives permission to do what's exactly the opposite of what's going to be done. Because the inclusive morality that they preach costs nothing.
Yeah.
Virtue signalling encourages hypocrisy. And I think it's even worse than what Rodney says, because it reverts to a kind of non-ethic and a loss of freedom in the name of freedom. It says by being inclusive and looking after everyone, it's giving more people more freedom. In fact, it's giving less freedom, because people who disagree or don't seem to go along with it are excluded. Now, just one little point, if I can be allowed. It's all about a confusion between values and virtue. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. A virtue is an aspect of character. It's something that we can see in someone. We can say somebody is virtuous by saying they're courageous, or they're prudent, or they're generous, and so on. So it's an aspect of character, it's a concrete aspect of character that we can see. But on the other hand, by promulgating values and having your whole ethic based on values, are based on some kind of psychological concept that has no substance. Because I can say I value courage, doesn't make me courageous. So my values are actually help me misunderstand what human character actually is, and that's why we get confused by using a deconstructed understanding of virtue, and that change is very, very significant, and it has contributed to lots of things. And the most recent thing I think it's contributed to is commercial activism.
Yeah. Okay, Rodney, do you want me to explain to you just what Bruce talked about then?
No, I'm sorry. It would take too long.
I know. I have no idea, but it was very intelligent, and I totally agree with Bruce.
No, it wasn't that. It's just I'm so dim, and I'm always trying to keep up with Bruce.
Loosen the hat. Simon, what do you think about the website? I mean, now be careful, because you work for Family First, so be careful what you say here.
Oh, no, I think it's good. Starting actually where Bruce left off, as Bruce will know, virtue comes because of habit. Lots of good habits. It's those actions, isn't it, Bruce? And so, a lot of these corporates, it's cheap. You make all these statements, but they haven't actually provided any good habits to lead towards a proper or virtuous activity. No, a good site, it's information. Look, I'm always nervous around cancel culture as a concept. And, of course, it can go both ways. But something like this website provides information, important information, that Kiwis can access, because a lot of this stuff they just won't be familiar with, partly because I think most people switch off to it. But the companies are rewarded, particularly in and through media, for being as woke as they can be. But probably my biggest reason for supporting it's echoing very much what Rodney was saying. At the end of the day, I expect the corporate boards to be focused on delivering better service, better profits to shareholders, and if you will, a focus for the company. All of this stuff around LGBTI, climate change and so forth is often a massive distraction. So what on earth it's got to do with the bank or the insurance company is just frustrating. And it ultimately costs us who are shareholders or customers. So no, good to have it. Good work by the team.
Okay, and Peter, it was a new concept. You didn't know it was coming. What did you think?
I heard you talking to a fellow by the name of Sean Plunkett about it the other week, Bob. No, I think it's a great idea, and I've really enjoyed looking at it. I'm distressed to know that Air New Zealand gets the green light. The red light, as about
very red light.
Woke. Yeah, very red light, because essentially they're a monopoly. There aren't too many opportunities to fly other airlines, particularly into the provinces. But I must tip my hat here to good old Rod Duke. Briscoes and Rebel Sport have got a green light. So no virtue signalling there. And Rod's just concerned about having good inventory and making profits. So well done, the Briscoes group.
Okay, let's see if my comments work. And Kevin said, oh, look at that. Well done. The income chart doesn't make sense. How can GST be bigger than PAYE? Seems that someone isn't paying enough PAYE. Kevin, the answer to that is that many people, actually the majority of New Zealanders, don't really pay income tax because of all the subsidies. So that's why GST is a consumer tax and everybody has to buy stuff. Jason says national isn't conservative, lol. Sam says the cuts should be bigger in the public sector. Okay, go and yell that out on the street in Wellington. Christine and Brendan says, in fairness, the new government did spend their first 100 days undoing much of the rubbish left behind. James says, I had a discussion with a girl in her early 20s who participated in the Māori Party protests against the budget. But when a colleague of hers questioned her on the budget, she didn't know what the budget was. She was just there because her friends with similar political views went along. Her quote to me was, there is power in numbers. She didn't even know what she was protesting about. Leslie says, bravo, Peter. You said it all. Right on. Kevin's also on your side, Peter. Rob is worried about the technical issues and says, possible censorship, wake up Kiwis. Ian says, I agree with Peter and the Labor government, but there is a lot of work for the National Party. Hopefully Luxon can turn it around. Rob says, Rob's back. Ground control to Major Bob. Check ignition. Thanks very much. Tuxter says, inclusive morality is just a byword for libertine, as in anything goes, which is terrifying. Is that correct, Bruce?
Yeah, it is nearly. Just about.
Yep. Okay. Have we lost Peter? Okay. You're there, Peter? Your camera's playing up. Sam says diversity, equity and inclusion would actually work if it was means tested, not based on ethnicity or gender. And Lynette says, it was an interesting one, World Vision needs looking at. The 40-hour famine is now the 40-hour challenge due to our so-called climate crisis. Okay. Right, just before we go on to our next topic, team, a little advert. The Forum on the Family is one of the premier family conferences held each year with international and national speakers and political leaders. Hosted by Family First New Zealand, the Forum brings together a national network of family-focused organisations, scholars, lobby groups, leaders and groups who are part of a growing movement for social change to bring New Zealand to a point where families are strengthened, marriage is honoured, life is protected and religious freedom is defended. This year's conference will again be held at the Dewdrop Event Centre in Manukau City, not too far from the Auckland Airport, on Friday, 5th of July. This year's theme is Protecting the Next Generation. It's time for all of us to push back against the harmful agendas and ideologies being targeted at our children, including the ones in the womb. And once again, we have an amazing lineup of speakers from the US, Australia and New Zealand. Now, as we did last year, on the Thursday night before the forum, we're hosting a gala celebration dinner with the theme Independence Day. Well, it is on the 4th of July, but independence is also significant for Family First. We'll explain more at the dinner. You'll also get to meet and eat with our other international speakers and hear them in a special Q&A on the night. I want to invite you to this year's Forum on the Family. It's the highlight of the year and you don't want to miss it. Arrange to be there. Book your flights today. Gather your friends. If you're concerned for our culture, our country and our families, you may be saying, well, what can I do? Step 1, attend the Forum on the Family. Last year was another sellout, so don't delay. Go to our website, forumonthefamily.nz, for all the information you need. Register today. Don't miss this important family conference. Let's build a culture that protects our children, the next generation. Go to forumonthefamily.nz. Register today. All right, and just over 3 weeks to go, and if you do come, you'll meet Simon and Bruce in the flesh. Peter might send us a telegram from Wimbledon, depending on the results, and Rodney will have finished the carpeting by then. Hopefully we might be able to persuade him to come up. All right, move on to the next topic. Now, the police say that alcohol creates 20 times the harm of meth, but police deploy less than 1% of their staff on reducing its harm. Police reckon that the harm from alcohol is about $8 billion a year compared to $1.8 billion for illegal drugs. And Police Commissioner Andrew Costa said that he wants new measures, he reckons, including bottle stores only to open during the day, and he wants to see the price of alcohol raised. And he gave some data about the fact that of the 10,000 police only about 84 deal specifically with alcohol harm prevention. One fascinating stat, team, was that Police National Headquarters employs 4,000 staff. 4,000, what do they do? But only 3 full-time positions in alcohol harm prevention, of which one is vacant. So, question for the panel, do you agree with the concerns of the Police Commissioner? And are you surprised by the lack of resources in this area? Simon, I might start with you for a change. What do you think about the Police Commissioner's comments?
Look, it's quite complicated, actually. Well, I view it as complicated. Firstly, I don't like conflating the alcohol harm alongside the likes of meth and so forth. I mean, yes, it's a drug, etc., but not in this conversation, but it's often been used to try and justify other drug usage. Look how bad alcohol is. And it is. It's a major, major problem. If you've been out with the police, particularly at night, the harm that alcohol is doing is very much present. But I suppose I sit on the side that says I don't think it's the police's role singly to fix this. So maybe limiting some bottle stores' opening hours might have an impact. His idea of taxing it more, I think, won't achieve anything at all. Certainly some more resources could help, but I think we have this as a wider societal problem with the way that we manage alcohol. And I think that's, I suppose, a very long way of saying, Bob, I don't think the police can fix this, but just waving the flag too, because Chloe Strawbucks and others of the world and a lot of health professionals will try to say, well, look, alcohol's causing a lot of harm. Therefore, we should allow more harm via the use of other drugs. So just having to be careful there. But I'm really, really clear that's not Costa. But he's got the resources. If he's got 4,000 people at head office, well, then use some more of them.
Yeah, especially if it's having the cost that they say that it is. Peter, what do you think?
Well, those two numbers are just bumpkin, really. What is it? 7.8 billion for alcohol and 1.8 billion for meth.
Yeah.
You consider that probably 95% of the population, of the adult population, consumes alcohol at some level or another, and 7-8% of the adult population consumes meth on a regular basis. Sure, we have a major meth problem, but I don't believe it is widespread in the adult population, and there are not as many consumers of meth as there are of alcohol. So therefore, to conflate those two figures is irrelevant, really. The vast majority of people in New Zealand who drink responsibly. Yes, Simon can go out with the cops and probably has on a Friday or Saturday night down Courtney Place or K Road or Ponsonby Road or whatever, and there are some pretty tacky activities go on. But the vast majority of alcohol consumption in this country is done responsibly. And this is something that people like Alcohol Health Watch are not really prepared to admit. I think that I honestly don't know what we do with the meth problem apart from trying to cut off the supply, and therefore we've got to hit the gangs much harder. In terms of alcohol staff or alcohol-related staff at the police, well, that's Commissioner Costa's role. Surely he's got the people sitting behind the desks. Maybe he should reassign them into other areas, frankly. But I think that this is a bit of a wowser-led story, frankly. Like I say, the vast majority of alcohol in this country is consumed responsibly, and I don't believe it's as big a deal as the commissioners trying to make out here in comparison with meth.
Yeah, I know when the cannabis referendum was on, we did a bit of research around this because people were trying to make this false comparison, and I think the data showed that 20% of people who consume alcohol believe themselves that they have a problem with it. 80% don't. Whereas it's actually the illegality of the major hard drugs that is keeping the harm less. So, the argument was always alcohol is legal, so therefore we should legalize drugs. Well, why add another disaster to a disaster that's already there for some people? I mean, some people would say, actually, I just noticed a comment down here, increase the age of alcohol to 21, which has been one of the arguments. Rodney, what do you think about in this area? do you think we can make some tweaks around tightening the regulation, which I think is what the Commission is getting at?
No. I am appalled by Costa. It's not his job to be making policy. It's not his job to be quoting these statistics, which are literally pulled out of the backside of an economist and paid for to give a certain result. For example, in these studies, they've never looked at the benefits of alcohol, of which there are many. That's why people like to have a glass of wine with their dinner. I myself don't drink, but plenty of my friends enjoy drinking, and why shouldn't they be allowed to enjoy drinking? I'm also very disappointed in Costa, because here he is on sort of running around thinking we're going to police when you can open your liquor shop or anything, as though that's going to make a difference to anyone who has a problem with alcohol. I mean, this is just nuttiness, right?
Mm.
But this is a guy who can't do the basic policing. This is a guy who, when you ring the police because you've been robbed, nothing happens. This is a guy who can't keep the streets safe. And what's he wanting to do? He just wants more power to harass otherwise law-abiding citizens. Alcohol, at the moment, is a legal product, right? I don't see in the near future that changing. Mr. Costa needs to get on, and he needs to be dealing with the people who are committing crimes against property and against persons, not trying to, quote, mitigate social harms. That is not the job of the police.
And in defence of the Commissioner, though, is his hands tied by, because you've been in politics, is it tied by funding and government policy? Because remember, the previous government was soft on crime.
I read that article by Jack Tame about why politicians can't do this, because somehow there's this powerful alcohol lobby. Well, I was in Parliament for 15 years and I wasn't aware of any powerful alcohol lobby at all. The power that alcohol has is that people like drinking it. That's its power, and those people vote. It's not about a lobby. And I would suggest to you that the average MP is a lot more switched in to their electorate than is Costa, or indeed a journalist writing about the, quote, problem.
Mm.
So it is tough for politicians, as Simon says, because we've all seen with friends, with family, when we've travelled with the police, the terrific harm that alcohol does.
Mm.
If you hadn't invented it, we'd probably be in a much better place. But it's one of the things that we have to deal with. But the idea that somehow the politicians are being grubby about this, I took grave offence at.
Mm.
Yeah, and can I just 100% echo what Rodney said, the idea that there's this powerful lobby group that has power over us MPs because we're all mindless idiots is wrong. We can think, we can judge, we listen to our constituents, and it's an old tactic, isn't it, of the boogeyman, this powerful group hiding in the shadows. So it's just absolute rubbish.
Okay, Bruce, do you think the Commissioner's onto something and
I
asking
can
for better
reiterate what
regulation?
people have already. I can reiterate what people have already said. I mean, alcohol. I think we do need to distinguish between alcohol consumption and alcohol abuse. And alcohol abuse has been with us. Those old blokes like me who have read the Bible will know it's been with us since the days of Noah, when alcohol was abused. And so there is a problem with alcohol, certainly. And maybe it's got something to do with its availability. I mean, I would like to see a few things happen, like shorter hours for sale and fewer outlets. I don't know why we can sell it in supermarkets. Don't advertise on TV. And maybe raise the age of when kids can have alcohol. We've reduced it. There's been big fights around it, but I think it wouldn't hurt to go up a bit. Now, I think the comparison with other drugs isn't helpful. Drugs, generally speaking, are unlike alcohol in that they have got no social utility. Alcohol does. It has a history. and it has traditional and historical support. And its function and its role in society is quite different from what other drugs have. Other drugs, on the whole, tend to isolate people from each other. Alcohol, properly used, actually contributes towards sociability. So it's not entirely a bad drug at all, but it's just its abuse is bad, and we don't want to become all self-righteous about it and try and think that we can defend the use of other drugs by condemning alcohol. I think we should probably do it more in the schools, that is, teach alcohol respect for. Forget about sex education, programs that in schools that teach kids how to copulate, and replace programs that have some value on how to go about drinking alcohol. Would be much more useful, much more practical.
Okay. What was that word you used just before?
Useful.
Copulate or something. Okay, anyway, moving on. Let's just check the comments before the quick last question. Matt, the drinking culture needs to change. Leslie says, take alcohol off supermarket shelves, close bottle stores at 5 and raise the price or the tax. Aaron agrees, false equivalence. Far more people drink than use meth. Sam wants the age to increase to 21. Veronica says, can you actually do meth responsibly? Rob says, defending a commissioner, Bob. Actually, it's not that. It's really just understanding that government sets the policy. So the commissioner has to follow a soft on crime policy or a hard on crime policy, depending on the government of the day. I'm just giving him some slack on that. Wendy says, meth creates and causes criminal activity. Alcohol causes family harm and accidents. The law needs to be a change to allow police to enter properties where meth distribution and production is suspected. And Stacey says, is it the alcohol itself or the drinking culture in New Zealand? Right, team, just one more quick question, and we're just going to have to get a quick answer to this one. This was the announcement made tonight at about 5 o'clock at the post-cabinet conference by the Prime Minister.
Public confidence in the response to these allegations is absolutely paramount.
It's about
there must be
Māori.
Independent oversight of the whole picture of government agency activity. Agencies shouldn't be left to review these allegations themselves. And to that end, the Minister for Public Service and I have directed the Public Service Commission to initiate an independent inquiry into the safeguards that government agencies had in place to protect people's personal data in the circumstances surrounding these allegations. I've also asked the inquiry to examine agencies' management of actual or perceived conflicts of interest. If the allegations are true, the way data could be so easily shared between organisations through people wearing multiple hats would be of great concern.
Okay, so there's an independent investigation about the alleged misuse of census data by Te Pāti Māori, and there's possibly some involvement of Waipareira Trust and a marae and Manarewa. And so it seems like, there's a major investigation going to happen. Just very quickly around the panel, what's your response to all of this? Do we need another by-election in that electorate, or do we need another general election just to be really wild? Peter, what do you think about all these claims?
Oh, no, let's not jump the gun in terms of by-elections and general elections. They're way too expensive and not necessary at this stage. What bothers me the most in Luxon's comment there is that he is going to get the Public Service Commissioner to set up an independent inquiry. What the heck's he doing going to a public servant to set up an independent inquiry? He's the Prime Minister, for God's sake. Why doesn't he appoint a retired Supreme Court or a retired High Court judge to get in there and start digging straight away and stop mucking around with something that is obviously crooked as my dog's hind leg? So let's just cut to the chase and investigate properly instead of mucking around with these so-called independent investigators. It's the Prime Minister's job to lead. He should be showing absolute leadership on this matter.
Have I made my point? Yeah, no, look, excellent. If the golf courses are closed tomorrow because of bad weather, would you be free to do a little investigation? Because you'd be way cheaper and you could probably do it in 24 hours.
Well, there's a lot of guys at Destiny Church who seem to know what's going on. There's a fellow called Haimona Gray that has cut to the chase with a couple of brilliant articles on Substack. So this just smells to high heaven. In fact, I can taste the stench down in central Otago from what's coming out of Western South Auckland.
Sounding like David Longy now. Simon, having just come out of politics, does this surprise you? What's going on here?
I think at one level it has surprised me. Suppose I've not really had the insight into what was happening at Manarewa, Marae and so forth, but at another level it doesn't. I think Peter's right. This absolutely stinks. I wrote about it the other day. Where there's smoke, there's a lot of fire. But Peter's also right. Why on earth are they not appointing a retired judge or two to get involved? But instead, it's a bit like when we talk about the budget. They're saying one thing and doing the other. So we want this independent, but by the way, we'll use the Public Service Commission. It's like, really? So that doesn't make much sense at all. But this has to be also, I would quickly add, absolutely beyond reproach. Look at how the courts in America are being politicized at the moment, be it Hunter Biden or Trump. We don't want any hint of that here, that the government of the day is going after or harassing other political parties. So it has to be beyond reproach. And then finally, there's no need for by-elections until, of course, there's the results of the investigation.
Okay. Bruce?
Of course it smells, and we do need a public inquiry, but certainly not one that's coming out with the government sort of looking at itself. And the idea of a retired judge sounds to me like a very good idea. I've suspected something like this for some time for a whole variety of reasons, and it doesn't surprise me. And I think probably anybody that had their head above water a little bit would see it coming. What's good about it is that it looks like we're actually going to look at it, and I hope that we do it with thoroughness and come up with some real findings, because it could be a positive for us. It could be something that could be good for us, and realising that political skullduggery has been going on. And Te Pāti Maori, goodness me, I don't know what they've been thinking and what they think they could do. They're still denying it, but still I don't know why, because it's pretty self-evident there's been corruption, and I hope we can find out what's going on, and the sooner the better.
Okay, and finally, Rodney?
The Waipiro Trust under John Tamihere has been a rort from day one. I'm shocked at the extent of these allegations. There should be an inquiry independent of the Public Service Commission. Just think of it like this. What would it do for our trust in government departments, the big government departments, if these allegations were found to be true? It would be devastating for that trust. Very, very hard for a State Service Commissioner to actually pull that apart, because they're pulling apart that which they work to maintain.
Yep.
That's why it has to come from outside, and that's why Luxon is useless. You actually can't have the level of these departments exposed to this loss of trust and faith in them without actually a mild revolution occurring in how we regard government.
Yeah.
State Service Commission is the wrong person to be in charge of this. Finally, we've actually got to get to the bottom of it. We can't be making decisions about guilt or otherwise until we get to the bottom of it. I don't have faith that we are going to get to the bottom of it with this half-assed inquiry being set up, because these allegations are so serious. The only way there's going to be a by-election is if the MP is found guilty of a crime that involves a maximum sentence of 2 years or more. Now, that could be the case. But anything short of that, she's good to stay unless she resigns. That's the way our Parliament is set up, and for good reason, because you can't be making allegations and forcing the MP to go. It actually has to be proven, and it's got to be proven to a standard. Otherwise, as Simon says, we'll get into this political lawfare. It's got to be done properly. And again, I'm afraid Chris Luxon's dropped the ball terribly. Terribly.
Okay, I just have to show you this comment. It says from Jacob, "Get back in there, Rodney. The country needs you more than ever." There we go. You finally got one vote. Anyway, well done, team.
That's my good friend.
Yes, I just want to apologise to the audience for all the naughty words that were said tonight. It's been a boys-only night. I especially apologise for that word that Bruce used, copulate. But anyway, Rodney, thank you for coming in at the last moment. Really appreciate that. And as always, Peter and Bruce, you came in at the last moment as well. So thank you.
Yes.
To Simon and Peter, who turned up as per roster, thank you very much. And we will be back next Monday night. Thank you, team. Thank you, viewers. And we will see you next Monday at 8 o'clock.